Hello and welcome to Unacademy, a one-stop destination for all the English medium civil service aspirants. Welcome to another session of weekly current affairs quiz. Now before we start the discussion, a very important announcement. Starting 30th of March, we are launching a new English online classroom program. If you're interested, please call up this mobile number, or for further details, a link is provided. Please check out the details. The classes are taken by top educators, Sarmad Sir, myself, Chetan Sir, Astha Ma'am, Himabindu Ma'am, Abhishek Sir and Mukesh Sir. Now, let's start the discussion. These are the 7 topics that I've picked up, on which we will have a discussion, certain discussion on the topics, as well as a MCQ based discussion on the same topics. The first will be generalize the system of preferences. In the last 1 year, it has been there in the discussion, and very recently again a newspaper article has appeared on the concept of GSP. China has dragged United States of America to WTO. On what context? What is the issue? Amul will start selling, for the first time, will start selling fresh milk. Underline the term fresh milk in USA. That's important. World Happiness Report. SEBI has launched a new type of a settlement system, T+0. PLI Investments have taken a hit. What are the important points? Let's look at it. And the 7th article, and on which the question we will discuss, is NHAI monetization of road infrastructure projects. Now, let me start with the first MCQ here. Have a look at the MCQ. Consider the following statements. First, GSP is a reciprocal system. And if you're wondering what is GSP, generalized system of preferences. With GSP status being accorded, all the exports from the donor countries will automatically get tax benefit. Currently, USA has accorded GSP status to India. These are the 3 statements. We'll come back to the statements, don't worry. Let's look at the concept and why it was there in the newspaper. The article appeared in the Business Line, 27th of March. Exporters seek to fix product description confusion under UK's new import scheme. Now understand, under World Trade Organization, there is a principle called as most favored nation. And in the last 1 year, this has been there in the discussion a lot. And in the last 1 week, again, because of the news related to Pakistan, the concept of MFN is there in the current affairs. But there is an exception to the rule of MFN, or the principle of MFN. One such exception is the concept of generalized system of preferences, GSP, generalized system of preferences. Now, developed countries, what is the idea of a generalized system of preferences? Developed countries, these are also referred to as donor countries. Donor countries will provide certain tax benefit for the imports that they are receiving from developing countries. I'll repeat the statement. Imagine here is a country X. There are 2 countries which are exporting goods to country X. This is a developed country. This is a developing country. And X is also a developed country. Now, because X is a developed country, they would want to promote growth of trade between X and Z. In order to promote the trade, what X will basically do is, they will eliminate the tariffs on certain goods which are coming from the country Z into country X. Let's say hypothetically, this remote control. If this remote is exported from country Y, the MFN rate applicable, let's say, will be 15%. And what is this MFN rate? If this, right, let's say remote is exported from another country A to X, 15% is applicable. If it is exported from country B to X, 15% MFN rate, same rate is applicable as long as the country X does not have a free trade agreement or any kind of other trade agreement with the exporting country. So imagine here, Y is exporting this remote and the MFN rate applicable will be 15%. If Z will also export it, which is a developing country, obviously country X would want to provide certain benefit to the exporter. would want to promote trade between X as well as Z. And that is the reason what country X will do is they can reduce or they can eliminate the tariff altogether. And when they eliminate the tariff altogether, the exports of this remote will start increasing. These will become more competitive when they will land in the country X. In this context, please understand, the developed country is called as a donor country. This is called as a donor country, and Z is called as a recipient country. And the whole idea is basically the concept of generalized system of preferences. Now, is it compulsory that all the developed countries should provide the GSP status? Not compulsory. Is it compulsory that all the goods which will go from country Z to X, they will get the benefit? Again, not compulsory. Country Z, whatever exports they are doing, the government of country X will identify some of these exports and provide GSP status, provide the benefit of GSP status by reducing or eliminating the tariff on these exports, thereby promoting the trade between country X as well as Z. This is point number one. Point number two, I said even in the last 1 year, the idea of a GSP has been there in the discussion. What is the argument here? The government of USA, when Mr. Donald Trump was the president of USA, government of USA, there were certain trade related frictions between India as well as USA. And looking at these trade frictions, the government of USA has withdrawn the status of GSP that was given to India's exports. The status of GSP was withdrawn. That is another very important point. Third important point, when the Prime Minister of India had a visit to USA last year, this was one of the very important points of discussions or deliberations which were taken up. This was negotiated again. The Indian side basically argued that the GSP status to India should be reinstated. Having said so, is the USA only country in the world which has provided GSP status to India? Answer is no. There are multiple countries which have provided GSP status to India. Now, what is there in the current affairs? The current affairs concept is simple here. The United Kingdom, what they have proposed is, they have come out with a new system called as DCTS. The DCTS basically is Developing Countries Trading Scheme. Developing Countries Trading Scheme, DCTS. And UK says, instead of having GSP, I'll replace this with DCTS. Point number one. What is the use of the new system? The government says DCTS will be much more simple, will be much more liberal compared to the concept of GSP. So we are going to provide more benefits to the countries which are developing countries or LDCs under the concept of DCTS. Point number three. What is the other issue? What is the confusion here? Whenever you export or import goods and services in the international market, you'll have to code them, you'll have to classify them. And what is the requirement of coding? What is the requirement of classifying the goods? Argument is, throughout the world or throughout the global market, if you have a very good classification, you can simply identify the product to fall under a specific classification and impose the tariffs accordingly. And this classification, please remember, this is called as HS classification. Global market or global practices a 6-digit HS classification. HS, by the way, is nothing but harmonized system. Harmonized system. Beyond this, please do not start a complete reading or do a PhD thesis on HS classification. As far as UPSC Civil Services is concerned, this is more than sufficient. Now, having looked at all of this, let's come back to the question here. Consider the following statements. GSP is a reciprocal system. Reciprocal means if country X will provide GSP status to country Z, should country Z also provide the same status to country X? No. Whatever benefits are given by country X, should they be provided by country Z also? Absolutely no. It is not a reciprocal system. It is non-reciprocal system. With GSP status being accorded, all the exports, point number one, all the exports, that too from the donor country, will get the tax benefit automatically. No, right? Statement is wrong. Currently, USA has accorded GSP status to India. No, earlier it had accorded, it has withdrawn the status. So third statement is also wrong. So all the three statements are wrong. Right option will be how many of the above statements or statement is or are correct. None of the statements are correct. Right option will be option D here. Let me go to the second question now. Consider the following regarding cooperatives in India. Statement 1. The dispute settlement panels are appointed by ministerial conference. Just a second. This is not cooperatives. This is consider the following statements. Okay, not cooperatives. Consider the following statements. The dispute settlement panels are appointed by the ministerial conference. Statement 2. The ministerial conference can take decisions on all the areas covered in the multilateral trade agreements. Which one of the following is correct in respect of the above statement? Combination. New type of question I have given here. Statement 1 is correct, but statement 2 is wrong. Statement 1 and 2 both are correct, and 1 is the right explanation of 2, etc., etc. We'll come back to the statements again. Please do not worry. Now, why I've taken this particular question? Is there any logic to this? Please have a look at the article. This appeared in Business Line on 27th of March. China challenges e-vehicle plans at WTO. Whose plans? The government of USA plans. Now, what is the issue all about? What is the argument here? Let's go step by step. The government of USA has announced one particular act called as Inflation Reduction Act. Inflation Reduction Act, very, very famous. IRA, Inflation Reduction Act 2022. Under the Inflation Reduction Act, the government has implemented various measures. One very important measure is providing tax credits. Providing tax credits for taxpayers. Now you will ask me, sir, what do you mean by tax credits here? What is the issue all about? Imagine you purchase an electric vehicle. You are in USA, you will purchase an electric vehicle. Certain amount of taxes that you are paying to the government, from these taxes, certain amount can be deducted. Are you able to understand? Whatever taxes you are paying, the tax credits is basically a certain tax amount that can be deducted from the taxes you are paying to the government. That is the benefit that you get. Now, the tax credits under Inflation Reduction Act is available to companies which are involved in renewable energy production. The tax credits are also available for customers who will purchase electric vehicles. This is basically the policy which was originally introduced. But from January 2021, starting from 1st January 2024, the government of USA made a small change. They made a small change. What was the change? If a company will use, let's say, any component, if an American company, that is, which is manufacturing in America, if they will use any component, critical mineral, etc., which will come from China, that is, which is produced in China, if this will come from, right, let's say Korea, if this will come from Iran, if this will come from Russia, these countries were identified and they said, if these companies are using products from these countries, are sourcing from these countries, they will not be provided with the tax credits. They will not be provided with any tax credits. And the amount of tax credits is very important for the companies. These kind of companies generally get a tax credit to the extent of $3,750 to $7,500. That's a very substantial amount for them. So that is the reason against such a policy, now the Chinese government has dragged USA government to WTO, World Trade Organization. Under WTO, the structure of WTO, under that, there is a dispute settlement body, DSB, dispute settlement body. The dispute settlement body, basically, it's nothing but the General Council, periodically will meet as a dispute settlement body. And the dispute settlement body will take up any kind of these disputes which are there and will try to resolve the disputes, will try to address the issues of trade disputes. So USA's plans have been challenged by China, at dispute settlement body. Now generally whenever the DSB will take up this, first they will ask the member countries which are there in the dispute, which are having a dispute against each other, they will try to resolve by asking them to resolve the issue by themselves. They'll ask, hold negotiations, try to have mediations, try to resolve the dispute. If that is not possible, then the dispute settlement body will basically set up a panel. They will set up a panel. Panel will give a report on its findings, and this panel's findings can be challenged at the appellate body. At the appellate body. And since 2019, appellate body is not operational under WTO. This was in fact discussed in the recently concluded ministerial conference. So appellate body is not operational. So various experts are saying China may not get anything out of this kind of a dispute that it has raised against USA, because there is no appellate body functioning right now. All that can happen is they can go up to only the panel stage. After that, there is no functioning of the dispute settlement under WTO. So these are certain important points. Let's look at the statements now. Consider the following statements. Statement 1. The dispute settlement panels are appointed by the ministerial conference. Ministerial conference is no doubt highest decision making authority. But convention is that ministerial conference will meet once every 2 years. So statement 1 is wrong. Statement 2, the ministerial conference can take decisions on all the areas covered in the multilateral trade agreements. This statement 2 is correct. It has the power to take any decisions regarding the provisions which are covered under multilateral trade agreements. So statement 1 is incorrect and statement 2 is correct. Right option for the question will be statement number or the choice number. If it is A, B, C, D, B, C and D, the right option will be option D here. Let me go to the next article. Right, before that, a question. Consider the following regarding cooperatives in India. Now there is a question on cooperatives. Statement 1, multi-state cooperatives come under regulation of state government. Statement 2, the cooperatives is in the state list of Indian Constitution. Now we'll come back to this. Again, the combination is same. Whether both the statements are true, whether only one statement is correct, etc. We'll have a look at it later. Don't worry. But before that, what is the background? Why have I given a question on cooperatives? Very recently, this appeared in 26th March discussion in various newspapers, not just business and various newspapers. And the headline was very simple. Amul to start selling fresh milk, underline the term fresh milk, for the first time in USA. What is the idea all about? What is the issue all about? As of now, please understand, Amul basically it's a brand name, it's a product name. Amul basically is a product or a brand name which is basically sold by a cooperative, multi-state cooperative by the name of Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation, GCMMF. It is a multi-state cooperative. Very recently, it also celebrated Golden Jubilee, wherein Prime Minister of India has given a speech regarding the Amul as a cooperative in India. Now, that is point number 1. Point number 2, as such, already please understand, this cooperative exports a lot of goods, that is milk and milk products, to more than 50 countries. It already is exporting. But for the first time, it is entering into a joint venture. Please understand, for the first time in USA, they are having a tie-up with another cooperative there. The other cooperative from USA will be Michigan Milk Producers Association, MMPA, Michigan Milk Producers Association. So the cooperative from India is having a tie-up with an American cooperative, and now the brand name Amul will be used to sell multiple products in USA. This is going to happen for the first time. The brand name Amul will be used by this cooperative by entering into a joint venture or the agreement with another cooperative in USA. They'll be selling the fresh milk products in the USA market. This is happening for the first time. Please be very, very careful. Now, apart from this, is there anything else that is important in the article? Please understand. The article simply says the front end operations, that is branding, the sales, marketing, etc. All of those will be taken up by the GCMMF, that is Gujarat Cooperative the Marketing Federation, and the back end operations, that is sourcing of the milk, processing of the milk, etc. will be done by the Michigan Milk Producers Association. That is point number 2. Point number 3, regarding Amul as a product, please understand. I said that the GCMMF is a multi-state cooperative. That is a cooperative which is present in multiple states, not one state, it is present in multiple states. And whenever you talk about multi-state cooperatives, please remember the regulation of these multi-state cooperatives is done by the central government under the Act. Under Multi-State Cooperatives Act, under the Multi-State Cooperatives Act 2002, it is the central government through the authority, Registrar of Cooperative Societies, the regulation of these multi-state cooperatives will be done by the central government. So look at the statement 1. The multi-state cooperatives come under the regulation of the state government? Absolutely no. But statement 2 is interesting because this is correct statement. The cooperatives is in the state list of Indian Constitution. Yes. Under the Schedule 7, the subject of cooperatives is put under the state list. But whenever you talk about multi-state cooperatives, the regulation of it, registration, regulation, certification, etc. will always come under the central government's Registrar of Cooperatives. So statement 1 is correct, statement 2 is wrong. Statement 1 is wrong and statement 2 is correct. So based on this, right option will be option D here. Statement 1 is incorrect, but statement 2 is correct. So the option D or the combination 4 will be the right option for the question. Now before I go forward, let me ask a very simple question. Before I go forward to the next article, what do you think regarding the regulation of cooperative banks in India? I'll repeat my statement. What do you think, right, is the regulatory authority, regarding cooperative banks in India? Please do let me know the answer to the question in the comment section. So let me go to the next article. Before this, World Happiness Report. World Happiness Report. So this was published very recently. Please have a look at the question first. Consider the following regarding World Happiness Report. India is the best performing country in Asia in the World Happiness Report. India's ranking remains the same as its ranking in the last survey. The rankings are based on the performance of the countries under various indices such as CPI, WPI, these are called as indices. So rankings of the countries is dependent on various indices. How many of the above statement is or are correct? Now before we solve the questions, before we look at the statements and solve them, look at the article first. The concept of the World Happiness Report, WHR, World Happiness Report, it is published by multiple agencies coming together. I have given the list, please have a look. Question can be asked in the prelims. The Gallup, the Oxford Wellbeing Research Center, the UN Sustainable Development Solutions Network, and World Happiness Report Editorial Board. So these are various institutions or agencies which come together and publish the rankings of different countries under the World Happiness Report. Point number 2, whenever you talk about World Happiness Report, it is not decided, the rankings are not decided based on the performance of countries under different indices or under different, let's say, parameters. What generally is done is a survey is conducted. Through the respondents, they will collect the data. That is, in simple terms, if this survey is sent to me, I will have to provide the information as to what did I feel, what is my assessment, of India's performance on these 6 parameters. Generally, the numbers are given 1 to 10. I will have to provide my assessment. What is my assessment regarding the performance of India on these 6 parameters, such as GDP per capita, social support, health life expectancy or healthy life expectancy, freedom, generosity, and corruption. Based on these 6 parameters, I'll have to provide my perception or my assessment. My numbers will be, or I'll rank or I'll give the numbers, and generally these are collected for the period of 3 years. Then the average is calculated and the rankings are provided. And as usual, the country Finland, for the 7th time, the country Finland has been given the first rank. Finland has been the top country, or let's say has got the topmost ranking in the World Happiness Report. What about India's ranking? How many countries were covered under this? More than 140 countries, that is 143 countries were covered under this. India's ranking is 126th. India's ranking is 126th. And whatever was the last survey, in that survey also, India's rank was same, 126th itself. But having said so, please understand, are there any concern? Is the report measuring the right performance of the countries? Are there any concerns regarding what is the survey that is conducted, assessment that is done by the World Happiness Report, etc.? There are certain concerns which have been raised by various experts looking at the rankings provided by them. For example, in the Asian market, India's ranking is 126th. It has not changed. Compared to last survey, it has not changed. But many other countries which are experiencing economic crisis, they have been ranked much better compared to India. For example, Pakistan. I'm pretty sure all of you have come across the issues which are faced by, or the crisis that is engulfing the economy of Pakistan. So Pakistan's ranking is much better compared to what is India's ranking in this World Happiness Report. Second, there are various countries which do not provide support for, let's say, the freedom of expression, or whose social support infrastructure is very weak, etc. For example, Iran. Iran is generally accused of violating human rights. Their ranking under World Happiness Report is much better than India's ranking and many other countries' ranking. And another country such as Argentina, which has been experiencing huge economic crisis, or one problem after the other, their rankings have been much better than many other countries' ranking, which are much bigger in terms of GDP sizes, have a much bigger GDP per capita, etc., etc. And another very important point to note here in this report is USA, for the first time, the rank of USA is above 30th. And this is said to be one of the reasons why it is said to be a lower ranking now is a dissatisfaction that has been shown by the youth population. But some of you might be thinking, sir, why generally Finland tops in these rankings? Is there any argument behind it? In case of a country such as England, please remember some of the very important characteristics or features associated with Finland are: 1, the social welfare support in these countries. There are a group of countries, especially in Finland, the social welfare support of the government is very strong, very good. Education is provided, healthcare is provided free of a cost. What about work-life balance? The governments there actually promote a very good work-life balance. The people there have a very good bonding with nature. They go on lot of vacations, etc. And that is a precise reason generally you will feel, or you will see that whenever it talks about, or whenever anything or any report, any index talks about the happiness, welfare, etc., these countries will be at the top. So this is the discussion regarding the World Happiness Report. Consider the following regarding World Happiness Report. India is the best performing country in Asia. No, Singapore is the best performing country in Asia. First statement is wrong. India's ranking remains the same as the last survey. Yes. The rankings are based on performance of the countries under various indices or economic parameters. No. Right? These are basically assessment based rankings. So only one statement is correct. Right option for the question will be option A, only one. Let me go to the next question. Consider the following statements regarding T plus O. Now, before we solve it, what are the statements? India is the first country in the world to implement T plus O. With this, the liquidity will be higher, obviously, in the market. This will reduce the counterparty risk. Now, why I am discussing all of it? If you see, The newspaper 28th of March. You take a Business Standard, you take a Mint, you take a Financial Express. All these newspapers have carried one article regarding T+O settlement cycle. In fact, in our own YouTube channel, there is a separate video which I have made regarding T+O settlement. If you want more detailed information, you can watch the video. Now come back to the discussion here. Very recently, SEBI announced that they will be introducing T+O settlement. Already in 2023, we have implemented T+1 settlement. We have implemented T+1. Now for 25 scrips or 25 stocks, we also have implemented T+0 settlement cycle. In a nutshell, what is this T+0? If you conduct a trade, that is, imagine I will sell the scrip to you, that, right, the trade has been arranged or that trade has been accepted. Now the settlement of the trade will be done on the same day. All of you able to understand this? The settlement of the trade, because generally the first step will be, I will sell, you will purchase. So agreement is done. We both are agreeing to buy and sell. We are entering into a transaction. That is a stage 1. And settlement of the transaction is happening later. That is called as settlement. That is the reason they will simply use the term T+0. T means trade day. T means trade day. So whenever the trade is going to happen on the same day, the settlement will also take place now. Hence this is called as T+0. And SEBI says this is not available to everyone right now. Many of the stock brokerages also have said we will wait and watch. We are not going to accept it right now and roll it out right now to customers. Idea is simple. 25 shares have been identified, and these 25 shares, which are from NSE as well as a BSE, now will be implementing on optional basis T+0 settlement cycle. Based on this, look at the question now. India is the first country in the world to implement T+0. Absolutely no. China has already done it. China has already done it. In fact, in Moscow exchange, Korea exchange, T+0 is available only for limited number of scrips. So first statement is wrong. With this, the liquidity will be higher. With this, the counterparty risk will come down. What do you mean by liquidity will be higher? Before the introduction of T0, we had T+1. Before T+1, we had T+2. What does it mean? Imagine today we will trade. That is, our trade is accepted. I will sell, you will purchase. It is locked. But the settlement will happen after 1 day. That is basically called as T+1. That is, in the next 1 day, the settlement will take place. The shares will be actually transferred into a demat account, and the money will be actually transferred into my account. That is called as T+1. Now, if it is T+0, SEBI says by 4:30 p.m. on the same day, any transaction before 1:30 wherein you have accepted T+0, any transaction before, any trade that happens before 1:30, now it has to be settled before 4:30 p.m. of the same day, which means we will have more liquidity in the market. The sellers will receive money very soon rather than waiting for next 24 hours. This will increase liquidity in the market. Definitely yes. This will also reduce the counterparty risk. Counterparty basically means there are two parties in a transaction. One is a buyer and the other one is seller. They have entered into a trade. What if the trade settlement doesn't happen? What if the buyer doesn't have money? What if the seller doesn't have securities? So counterparty risk will be reduced now. The statement 3 is correct. So second statement is correct. Third statement is correct. Right option for the question will be option B, only 2. Let me go to the next question. Which of the following statements or statement are applicable to PLI? PLI, Production Linked Incentive. The reason why I have taken up this question is because of this article which appeared in the Financial Express. PLI Investments falter. Under PLI, Production Linked Incentive, Government of India has identified 14 sectors. And each of these sectors, a PLI scheme has been implemented, which means 14 PLI schemes are there. We started initially with 3 schemes. Now this has been expanded to 14 schemes. Best example for this is mobile phone manufacturing in India. Under the PLI, Government of India says the expected amount of investment, I'll round off the number, expected amount of investment is 3 lakh crore rupees. But as of now, the investment that has taken place is just over 1 trillion rupees or 1 lakh crore rupees. What about the target of employment generation? We have targeted employment generation of 1.15 million. 1.15 million. And how many jobs have been generated? Less than 500,000. And not just this, the investments have faltered. Investments are much lesser than the targeted one. The employment generation is much lesser than targeted one. What about the sales? Because in most of these schemes, the government will provide incentives based on the revenue that you have generated, based on the additional sales that you have done. Even in case of the actual sales that has happened, that is also much lesser than what has been targeted under PLI. If you're wondering, sir, why, what is happening with all of this, etc., many private sector companies are of the opinion that the conditions which have been provided by the government under PLI are very stringent, very strict. They may not be able to meet those targets year after year. Second, in many of the cases, experts have pointed out that PLI has actually led to assembling in India, not manufacturing in India. Many of the components are being imported and put together in India and sold in India. That is promotion of assembly, not promotion of manufacturing. And third concern which has been raised by various experts is that if I want to promote PLI in India, I'll have to manufacture, but the supporting industries, the ones who are going to supply inputs to me, that industry is not very well developed. But if I want to import it, there also government of India has a very high tariff rate, high tax rate. That is also hurting the PLI initiative. So these are some of the things that you need to remember regarding the concept of PLI. Under this, the objective is simple. I want to promote investment. I want to promote manufacturing in India. I want to promote employment in India. I want to reduce import dependence, etc. Now, please have a look at the statements here. It covers 14 sectors. Yes, factual statement. It is available only for the domestic companies and not for the foreign companies. Absolutely wrong. Whether you are a foreign company or a domestic company, doesn't matter. You can get benefits under PLI. There is no sunset provision for the 14 PLI schemes. Sunset provision means expiry date. Government of India says, I will implement these schemes generally for 5 years. So there is a sunset provision. Third statement is also wrong. So the first statement, that is the only right statement here. Right option for the question will be option A. Only one is correct. Let me go to the next article. Consider the following statements regarding infrastructure investment trust. The last question, this is related to the article here. What is the article? National Highways Authority of India monetizes over 16,000 crore road projects via infrastructure investment trust. So what is this idea of an infrastructure investment trust? All of you heard of mutual funds? Let me know. Not literally, but again in the comment section. All of you heard of mutual funds. What is the basic idea of a mutual fund? Investors will pool in the money. Asset management company will use the money and invest in different securities, different assets in the market. Apply the same logic even to infrastructure sector now. Here is, let's say, a company, right, or asset management company, and this will get the money from different investors and they will invest in infrastructure projects. Very simple model. They will invest in infrastructure projects. Only difference is, in case of mutual funds, right, it's an asset management company. Here these are called as project management companies, PMCs, project management companies. And these are generally set up as a trust. These are set up as a trust. Now in case of National Highways Authority of India, they want to generate lot of money to develop infrastructure projects, so that is road infrastructure projects. And for this, the National Highways Authority of India has set up a project management company 100% owned by NHAI. The name of the company is National Highways Infrastructure Investment Trust Project Management Private Limited. This is a subsidiary. This is a subsidiary of National Highways Authority of India. And what this has done is, it has issued infrastructure investment trust units to various investors, and it has raised so far over 16,000 crore rupees, which they are able to use for management development of road infrastructure projects. This is basically the article that was there, gist of the article that was there in Hindu newspaper on 20th of March. Now, this idea of infrastructure investment trust is very novel in India. And some of you will simply say, sir, but apart from infrastructure investment trust, we also come across one more trust called as REITs. What is an REIT? REIT is basically real estate investment trust. Instead of using the funds to invest in other types of infrastructure such as roadways, highways, other types of infrastructure, in case of REITs, this money will be used in real estate projects. That's it. That's the only difference. In case of REIT, the money will be used only in case of real estate. In infrastructure or InvIT, right? InvITs. In case of infrastructure investment trust, the money will be used for other infrastructure projects here. That is a basic difference between the model of InvITs as well as REITs. Now, based on this, look at the question here. Consider the following statements regarding InvITs, Infrastructure Investment Trust. These are regulated by SEBI. Of course, yes, these are regulated by Securities Exchange Board of India. Factual statement, yes, it is correct. The investments in the Infrastructure Investment Trust are exempted from tax. In fact, this statement was used by UPSC earlier. The statement is wrong. There is no exemption from the tax. Taxes are applicable on the units here. So, which of the above statements is or are correct? First statement is correct. Second statement is wrong. So, the right option will be option A here. So, these are the various articles as well as the questions related to the articles that I wanted to discuss with you people in this week's quiz video. If you like these initiatives, please hit the like button, provide your valuable comments in the section below, and if you yet to subscribe to our YouTube channel, kindly do it now. Thank you. Have a great day.